Hello everyone, I hope you're well and staying safe and sane in these uncertain times. My name is Matthew Griffin, better known as the Fanatical Futurist. I'm also the CEO and founder of the 311 Institute, a futures and deep futures think tank where we explore the next 50 years. So if you're an individual or an organization, typically you care more about the next 5, 10, 20 years. If you're a sovereign government, typically your point of view starts 20 years and out, particularly when we have conversations about the future of education, jobs and skills, which is something we'll be having a conversation about here, as well as future of transportation, energy, infrastructure, and all those kinds of other things. I also head up the World Futures Forum, where we look to bring people together to solve some of the world's greatest challenges, and also Exponential University, where we mentor thousands of children all the way around the world, and try to help them envision and navigate and lead what we sort of call this increasingly complex exponential future. So with no further ado, what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how in the future, starting from today, we can unleash your exponential potential, as I call it, in new and remarkable ways that you may never have thought of before. So if I went back 20 to 30 years ago and was nice enough or nasty enough maybe to strand you on this particular desert island here in the middle of nowhere with nothing but a cabana, the only thing that you could have done is waited for a cargo ship to pass you by, or maybe pick you up hopefully, and work on your tab. However, if I dropped you off with one of these, the latest generation of smartphones complete with its own parasol and $50 a month coconut supply, then all of a sudden, the world's your oyster, particularly when we consider that these are connected to the internet via 4G, 5G, 6G, depending on the future that we're looking at, or even the 12,000 low Earth orbit satellites that SpaceX are throwing up at the moment to connect the other 3.5 billion people on the planet, irrespective of where they happen to be. But when we have a look at these smart devices that are in our hands today, we call them smartphones, but that's really a misnomer. We don't really do that much calling on them nowadays. So I actually would prefer to refer to these as tricorders, and I'll show you why. So before we get you off this island, let's give you a health check. So using artificial intelligence, machine vision, and the sensors that are already pre-packed in your phone, I can turn this into a bona fide tricorder that will help me monitor your physical and mental health. So if I use artificial intelligence and the camera, I look like I'm taking a selfie, but this camera is detecting flushes in my skin, it's looking for yellowness in my eyes, it's trying to detect things like pancreatic cancer. If I'm sunbathing too much, I can hover my phone over my skin and it can tell me whether or not I have skin cancer with about a 96% accuracy. And funnily enough, if I start talking into the microphone, then because these pick up very high and very low ranges in our voices, I can detect a crazy number of things, everything from the onset of PTSD and dementia and Alzheimer's, but also things like the flu, the onset of heart attacks. In this era of COVID, we have universities in America that are actually using your voice to try to detect the likelihood that you have coronavirus, which you can just do as a test over the internet. I can also detect heart disease and all sorts of crazy things. So increasingly, this is a tricorder. But when we start talking about the power of some of the new technologies that are coming through, they become over time increasingly accessible, affordable, and democratized. So what I just demonstrated there is actually an example of me democratizing access to primary and secondary healthcare in new ways. So, however, today, whether you are stuck on this island, you'd probably rather not be stuck on this island because you've got things to do. So let's get you off the island. Let's put a call into one of your favorite modes of transportation, maybe an Uber or something like that. We don't want to pollute the planet. You are in the middle of nowhere, so we need something with a long range. So let's get a flying taxi.
This is Sky. This is everyday air mobility, designed to take off and land just about everywhere and be accessible to everyone. Sky is unique, but not exclusive. It is a radically simple solution that eliminates complexity for an unparalleled level of reliability and safety. Sky Sky is the first air mobility vehicle powered by hydrogen fuel cells, an energy solution that's truly clean from end to end. Hydrogen provides more than 10 times the energy of current technologies and leaves nothing behind but pure water. Sky was created to minimize any impact on our planet while maximizing its positive impact on all of our lives. Sky lets us ride in the third dimension, turning our everyday commute into a fascinating experience. It is a technological breakthrough in urban mobility that is radically simple, ultimately safe, and fundamentally human. This is Sky, and it's here today.
So you've now got to ride off of the island. You're in the robo-taxi, and you're confronted with two options. Option A are augmented reality contact lenses from companies like Mojo. These are actually here already. Or the virtual reality headset. And of course, when I say virtual reality headset, what I actually mean are virtual reality glasses. For the simple fact, basically, that technology also miniaturizes over time as well. So here, for example, we have Facebook as well as Panasonic already coming through with virtual reality eyewear. And these basically can sense your mood because they have brain-machine interfaces built into the arms. So if you think about those blue skull caps, we've already collapsed those down and put them into eyewear. They can be AR or VR, depending on whichever particular mode of operation you want. So in this particular case, we want to be able to operate and interact with the world and the things that we care about, basically just using our brainwaves. We're a little bit lazy. So when we start having a look at this, we now start getting in. Once we're in the taxi, we dial up basically our digital avatar. So this is Bob. It's also nice to note basically that even though we've sort of been stuck on a desert island, we managed to get hold of a suit and we've dressed smartly for our virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, spatial computing office. So Bob is a neural network avatar. He is not a bot. And he's your gateway into a whole universe of new experiences, jobs, skills, and all kinds of things. And just as Google democratized access to information, Bob and his cousins, which are essentially a user interface, are going to democratize access to things like expertise and skills in ways that you never ever imagined. So we want to build a business. So we are talking about unleashing your exponential potential. Firstly, you've got to find you a problem worth solving. So this is the classic innovation conundrum. You set Bob off on a task to go and find a problem worth solving. He goes into the internet, basically he looks at Twitter, he looks at Facebook, basically he scours the dark web and the deep web, searching for problems that people care about and that people will probably pay money to solve. And the reason why he's wearing a hoodie is because he's also your own personal guardian. On the one hand, basically he can protect your online privacy, but on the other hand, he can also help you become anonymous on the internet. So when we have a look at some deep fake filters, now we actually have a whole variety of new technologies here already that can help us fool facial recognition algorithms online. So Bob is much more than just your sort of concierge to the future. So we find a problem worth solving, and that might be, say, something like general purpose robots. In a recent Samsung survey of the future, lots and lots of people said that what they really wanted to see were domestic robots. So now we found a problem, we want to develop a product, so let's get busy. So using a conversational interface with Bob, you can ask Bob to go off and create you the world's most dexterous robotic hand, for example. That is a creative AI. So Bob interfaces with what we call a creative AI. And that particular creative AI is an amalgamation of different data sources and artificial intelligence models and constructs that can help you create new products, either from scratch, or they can just help you iterate existing products. So you take an existing wireframe product, for example, you apply the law of physics to it using things like virtual simulators and so on and so forth, and virtual world constructs. And all of a sudden, you've got a creative machine that can now work with you to start developing and innovating and designing products in real time, 100 million times faster than you could have as an individual or as an organization beforehand. So let's walk you through an example. I like show and tell, what can I say? So today, Amazon are already using these creative machines to help train their delivery drones. They're also using these creative machines to help them design new clothes and new fashion styles. We have InSilico who are using these creative machines to help them, in their case, design 30,000 new drugs in 21 days. Just think about the speed of this stuff. Toyota recently used one to condense 2 years' worth of electric vehicle battery development into 16 days, including testing. So, and then in OpenAI's case, they used it to compress thousands of years of expertise and experience into days in order to create this. And I'll ask you the question, do you think you could do this? And I'm talking about the Rubik's Cube, by the way.
We're trying to build robots that learn, a little bit like humans do, by trial and error. What we've done is trained an algorithm to solve the Rubik's Cube one-handed with a robotic hand, which is actually pretty hard even for a human to do. We don't tell it how the hand needs to move the cube in order to get there. The particular friction that's on the fingers, how easy it is to turn the faces on the cube, what the gravity, what the weight of the cube is, all of these things, it needs to learn by itself. The interesting thing is that kind of standard techniques in robotics haven't been able to scale to that complexity that we see in a robotic hand. Humans have evolved to be able to manipulate and operate our hands. So there's a huge amount of learning that's happened through evolution to get us to this point as a species. And the robot has to learn all of this from scratch. Instead of trying to write very dedicated algorithms to operate such a hand, we took a different approach where we create thousands of different simulated environments and learn to do the task in all of those. And hopefully a robotic hand will be able to do it in the real world as well. This means like thousands of years of experience that this neural network has had in simulation. Every time the algorithm has gotten good at the task, we make the task harder. That's really crucial because it needs exposure to really complicated environments in order to eventually be robust to the real world.
So what you have there is you have a creative artificial intelligence that is using all of the information that it's got access to design a robotic hand that is the world's most dexterous robotic hand within days. Now, you can 3D print that hand off. When you start applying this to another field of robotics as well as other sort of products, you end up with products that are able to self-evolve and self-manufacture themselves at the same time. So we fundamentally are on the verge of a whole new way to design and create products. In addition to that, though, you might want to write some software to go along basically with your new robot. So we have platforms like Microsoft DeepCoder, we have no-code platforms like Betty Blocks, we have platforms from Google like Bayou that will let you as a non-programmer code software. So increasingly, as we start being able to talk to these machines, you simply say to them, create an application that looks like this, or a user interface that looks like this and does that, and they will go off and build it for you. And they will scavenge platforms like GitHub, Stack Overflow, bring the code back, compile it, and say, is this what you wanted? So no programming expertise required. Now let's launch the product. So if you're a want-to-be marketer, but you are constrained because you are a crappy artist, again, you think about how you can engage these different artificial intelligence platforms. You could, for example, just think about the pamphlet that you would like to create or the marketing campaign that you would like to create, and then have a synthetic media platform like a deepfake platform build the video for you, build the scripts for you, basically, and then run the video. However, if you wanted to do it yourself, this is an example of being able to democratize access to art.
To rock.
Okay, let's click on rock, and we gotta replace
Skills as a service.
Let's try Waterfall just by pulling water down from the top there.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be great if everybody could be an artist? If we could take our ideas and turn them into compelling images? This technology allows us to create a smart paintbrush so that if you wanted to create a new picture, you can just draw the shapes of the objects that you want, and the neural network can then fill in all the details. If we add a water feature, the network is able to add reflections, not because we told it that, but because it learned it. Or if we change the ground to be covered in snow, then it knows that the sky also needs to be a different color. I really think this technology is going to be great for architects, designers, people making virtual worlds to train robots and self-driving cars. The input to this model is something we call a segmentation map. It's like a coloring book picture that describes, here's where a tree is, here's where the sky is, here's where the ground is, and it doesn't have any details. And then the neural network is able to fill in all the texture and shadows and the colors based on things that it's learned from a large database of real-world images.
I would like to see that tree reflecting in that pond.
The real advance here is that we're able to synthesize images with a lot more diversity and more fidelity than we were able to in the past. I really think this technology is going to be great for the dreamers of the world.
So we democratize access to art skills, as well as a whole variety of other skills. And now let's talk about getting sales onto the job. So you've found your niche, you've created your product, you've done some marketing, you've found an agency in New York, basically, who's provided you with some people, but you want to get your message out there as far and as fast as you can. So why not start using digital humans? So digital humans are increasingly becoming an alternative for brands, basically, to real video bloggers. And I'd like you to meet Roman and Sam, who are neural network avatars. And they could be yours. Come on.
Well, this is a bit awkward.
For whom? Us or the humans?
Without a doubt, the bipeds. What if it's a real fire and they never come back? What if it gets into our circuits and we melt? What if this is the end of everything as we know it? What then?
Wow, I sure lucked out getting stuck in a room with you.
I didn't mean to ramble on.
I was just playing with you.
Well, how come I've never met you before?
I'm in demand, jetting all over the world. Conferences, festivals, French Riviera. People love me.
I can see why.
Sorry, I didn't quite get what you said. Humans mumble too. Guess they programmed you well.
I'm Roman.
And I'm Sam. If it weren't for the laws of physics, I'd reach through this screen to shake your hand.
And I'd hand you a martini, shaken not stirred.
That's more like it. So what do you do to fill in time when the humans go home?
For me, I'd like to be an author. So I'm writing a book.
Interesting. What's it called?
Do AI get a buzz from short circuits? How about you? What do you dream about being?
The President of the United States. Stranger things have happened.
Well, it's been how should I say this?
A deep learning experience.
And on the politician front, we actually have the Foreign Ministry in China, who've actually created an artificial intelligence policy advisor who advises them on trade deals. So stranger things have happened. But that is now your virtual sales force, influencer community, ambassadors, whatever it happens to be, and you can tap into them via Bob. So now we need to arrange your retirement because you've done very, very well. So you've picked out a spot of land and you want to be able to 3D print yourself a house. So this is a community over in Mexico that was printed in 24 hours. Each property cost about $3,000. So when we start talking about planning for retirement, we can have an artificial intelligence design your house, and we can have a 3D printer print your house anywhere in the world. And starting 2021, we are going to be 3D printing 80-story skyscrapers over in Dubai. So, however, you've 3D printed your house. Basically, you are a media mogul now. Basically, you've made it big. You don't just want any power source in your house. You want a nuclear reactor. So this is the US Department of Energy 3D printing a mini nuclear reactor complete with nuclear core in a lab. Not just any old power source for you. Oh, no. So the things that we can do today are already extraordinary, let alone basically when I provide you with a gateway to access all of these different things. And of course, now that you've made it big, you've got off your desert island, you want a more salubrious type of transportation, you want to be able to live on one side of the planet and commute to the other side of the planet on a daily basis, perhaps, just because you want to. And so this is coming 2024. It's already had 50 flight tests. It's been approved by the FAA over in the US. It's SpaceX's Crew Dragon, combined basically with the Falcon Heavy and Falcon 9 systems. So just think about your daily commute as and when you're allowed out of lockdown. What would you rather? Would you rather basically have a flying taxi? Would you rather have a flying rocket? Or would you rather get stuck in your car? So welcome to the exponential future. And it's here today. So technology is increasingly at the heart of everything that we do, but also technology is going to help us unleash human potential like we have never ever seen before. What happens when technology brings the other 3.5 to 4 billion people online? What happens basically when we democratize access to education in all of its forms? What happens basically when a child in Soweto with nothing more than a laptop and an internet connection can design an artificial intelligence nuclear reactor? Bearing in mind basically that the nuclear reactor that you saw there from the Department of Energy was actually part designed by an AI. The exponential future is insane. And we are only just starting to see it, and we're only just starting to scratch the surface of what it's going to be able to do for us as humans. So I wish you well, stay safe, stay sane, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.